Hey, and welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast, an adulting advice podcast production. I'm Danny Sheriff, and this is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. Let's dive in. And guys, please remember that I am not a doctor and nothing on this show should be taken as medical advice. Always seek the advice of your physician.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the HA podcast. It's me, Danny, and I'm really excited to be bringing to you guys this guest today. We're going in a bit of a different direction, but I'm very excited because I have a lot of personal curiosity about this topic because I have never been in this world. So I would like to welcome to you guys Jahan. She's part one of two of a duo called Krewella. Don't know if you've heard of it. If you have not, pause, go listen, then come back. And it starts with a K, by the way, just to help you guys. And we connected really briefly on Instagram. And I was really excited to see someone in the performing space kind of like interested in talking and not being, I guess, behind the curtain about how hard all of this can be for all of us. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. So, welcome, Jahan.
Thank you so much for having me. I think we're both jazzed about meeting each other through the internet because we're both, like I said, I'm a fan of your work and your message and just the information that you're sharing with people. And it's been incredibly helpful on my journey as I'm still in recovery. And it's listening to your podcast and reading the book No Period Now What, and listening to a bunch of other podcasts and looking at the right content and the right Facebook or Instagram posts is what is guiding me along and keeping me motivated.
Freaking amazing. My husband's probably going to listen back and he's going to be so jazzed that you said that you're excited to talk to me. He's a big fan and he introduced me to you guys. So when you popped in my DMs, I was like, that is so cool.
It's probably the one time someone's husband would be like jealous that they don't have a period. Because you and I bonded over periods. That's what we bonded over. That's what connected us.
Do you have a partner that he can bond with then?
No, but someday when I think about like dating, this is going to be like upon the first date, I'm just going to let them know like period and my period health is a big, big part of my life. And if you can't accept that and be down with whatever I need to do to take care of myself and maintain balance, then it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So that's something I've learned.
I love it. So 2021. Cool. Well, what we're going to do is get a backstory for you. I want everyone to understand, where you grew up, what that looked like, and your journey along with your sister to where you are today performing in front of all of these people. And then from there, so I want to give that context to everyone and that background. And from there, we're going to dive into a whole conversation about that life and how it might apply to HA and your body image and your health. So please share.
Gosh, I don't even know where to start because there's so many layers, as we know with HA. Like for me, I was actually thinking about this today since it's the first day of Ramadan. I grew up Muslim, and I never thought that would have an effect or could have contributed to the mindset or the behavior patterns that led to HA. And by no means am I blaming my religious upbringing because I think it is an incredible and it's a beautiful religion, and I'm not currently religious and I don't currently practice. But I do think the way some people teach it, as in any religion, as we know, it's the way some people teach it that where mixed messaging can happen. So yeah, I think that's a layer for me. The media, ingesting subconsciously these images of what an artist or an entertainer should look like, what success looks like. But yes, since a really young age, I was hyper aware of my body size since I was like a kid. sitting in the middle of my two sisters in the car, I would look at my legs as I was wearing shorts, and I would observe like my legs are like twice the size of them, my thighs. And I would just kind of notice it and feel different for it. I didn't know how to make sense of it. And then, as a kid going to the doctor and getting your wellness exams, your yearly checkups, every single time I was on the high end of normal, my weight. And I was in that zone, and there's like a visual, there's like a chart, and you're in like the orange zone going into red or whatever it was.
Oh my gosh.
And right. And the doctor would always say like, yeah, you're on the high end of normal. So I felt like, oh God, I'm teetering. And, I felt like I really need to watch my body and my weight. I was wearing pants. I noticed that in adolescence, my pant size was beyond what my peers were wearing. You would see girls with like wearing double zeros and talking about their zeros and their twos, like getting their size twos from Abercrombie. I was at TJ Maxx looking at size sevens. And by the way, when I talk about these numbers, I totally understand that me talking about my number could trigger other people, because for other people, they could be like, that weight that you're talking about, or that number, that size, to me is the size I'd like to be. So for me at the time, at age 12 and 13, it felt like it was large. And back to Ramadan and fasting, when it came time for Ramadan, I wasn't fasting for spiritual reasons. Like that was the last thing on my mind as a teenager, because I was so focused on just like fitting in and my identity and
you were just doing it
social
because
anxiety.
It's normal for your family?
I was doing it because it felt like, I should. And that's not to say there wasn't value. I think in hindsight, and when I look back, I'm like, I think it really, there were some really sweet memories of praying at dawn in the morning with my sister, and very sacred memories. But for the most part, when I look back, I'm like, damn, I think I weirdly got this superficial reward out of it, that it gave me an excuse or a reason to lose weight.
Interesting.
And I feel really embarrassed saying that, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a bad Muslim. I was like motivated by this to lose weight. And that was something I felt good about. By the end of it, I would see how my stomach would be slightly concave. And so I'm just kind of going through these, past memories before I was even in the music industry or considered being in the music industry. And I was always slow in gym class. I never, like running the mile, I was the last one to run. Sprinting, I couldn't do it. So I think I'm just like a slower moving creature. It's not in my nature to do like fast, high intensity workouts, to not push my body. And that started changing when I started realizing like, oh, I could control my body shape. I can shape my body through high intensity workout and curbing my appetite, and achieve this quote unquote warped perception of perfect, whatever that was at that time. And of course that was seeded by images in the media and like magazines, billboards, everything all around us. And I attribute a lot of that even to like Disney Channel, like watching the Disney Channel as a kid. Like when I think about all of the lead stars on the Disney Channel.
Oh yeah. No, I actually resonate with that a lot. And to like teen magazines and all that,
yes,
that kind of thing. Like that's what a teenage girl is meant to look like. And I'm
right?
like, I don't look like that.
Yeah. Were you aware of it at the time that it felt wrong, that there was this very homogenous, limited view?
The only thing you're aware of is that there's something wrong with you.
Right, exactly. You're like, I don't fit into that shape. Like, yeah, if that's what it takes to be, when you see like the most successful young women and young people in the world and in the media, and they usually fit into a certain size and have a certain look. You think, damn, I have to monitor that and manage that myself, or else I won't be successful in this world and validated and valued like them. So those were all of the messages that I was entering the music industry with. And so yeah, looking back at who I was when I entered the music industry, it was there definitely a lot of focus and energy went into maintaining a certain look and a certain body type.
I mean, just look at like film clips for the music industry. That's kind of one of the, especially growing up for us, um, film clips of video clips of songs is a big part of where you get what visually music and musicians should look like.
Right.
And I can imagine that would impact. It definitely impacted me. Like I can picture some of them right now. That stuck with me.
Even as a viewer, like beyond just being an artist, just as a viewer, I also have, because we work in the music industry, my sister and I, a lot of our peers, our colleagues are men, because the dance music scene is a male-dominated scene still, slowly changing. We have a lot of work to do though. But a lot of my friends growing up in high school were boys also. So I grew up hearing comments about women's bodies. You know, oh, she has a great ass, or oh, and yes, that's normal. Like we talk about other people like that too. But especially in the music industry, hearing how men talk about women, and it made me think like that's what's important.
Do they talk about it in a very like you're a product kind of way?
Absolutely. Even with dance music, before, like if you look at, images like flyers from the 90s, like flyers for raves and DJ shows, it's always this like airbrushed bronze babe with like a six pack and like wearing this hot pink metallic bikini with like her hair in glamorous waves, wearing a shitload of makeup, and she has headphones on and is advertising like a club night. Still, that happens, and those were the that was the presence of women in the dance scene back then. Before you would see them on stage.
Wow. Yeah, and I don't think it's changed all that much in terms of like what a flyer looks like and how it's marketed to you to show up to these events.
Yeah, especially in like where there's a lot of money, especially like when I think about Vegas and the nightlife scene and bottle service clubs, a lot of the time you're selling the type of women that you might meet there. And that's something we've observed from just playing the shows. And it's exciting. Like, I think, I mean, as we're in this pandemic, it's exciting thing about going out and meeting people, but it's very much so based on a look, like what the women look like when you go there to these clubs and events. And we've been participating in that for me personally, participating in that by trying to keep myself and groom myself or trim myself down in a way that's against my natural state to fit in, whether that's me looking a certain way in a crop top on stage and feeling like I shouldn't wear a crop top, this cute little outfit, I shouldn't wear it if I have a pudgy belly.
Right.
And that's something I'm literally, to anyone who's going to listen to this, like I am literally in the middle of this unlearning still. Like I have to every single day, like all the future shows we play, like I'm telling my future self to not shrink yourself and not feel like you have to be act smaller or hide yourself because your body looks different. Because I've gained about 25 pounds in this process and still gaining weight. I'm in that phase of my recovery where it's like it's still going.
Right.
It's still going.
Okay, I love this. So I had a feeling that you went down this path sometime around when everyone went inside due to the pandemic.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Like it makes me want to cry thinking about how this time, this past year, is what it took. It was literally the key. It was the secret, the ingredient I was looking for. I was trying to figure out for 2 years prior to this year. I was like, what is wrong with me? What am I missing? What is my blind spot? And I couldn't figure it out.
What do you mean? Like where is that coming from? Is it like what's wrong with my health, or why am I unhappy, or what do you?
I think it was a lot of it. I was just like, why am I moody all of the time? I think I'm just moody regardless. Do you feel that way too, even after you've recovered? Or are you just like, I'm just a moody person? Or
Yeah,
sensitive?
yeah, it's just exasperated when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah, I think I was just questioning. I was like, where's my period? Um, why am I not cycling? Why do I feel so, like I've this low energy? Why do I feel like I have this haze? Um, I don't know if you felt that too, where you just had this like really. It felt like you're living your life through fogged glass in a way. I just felt like I was just in this weird foggy haze all the time where I couldn't. Amazing things were happening. Where I just remember being in the Bohemian Paradise National Forest. I think it's a national forest in the Czech Republic. It was right before the pandemic. After a show, we had a day off, and we're walking through the most magical forest. And with my sister and with our two dear friends, they're all laughing, they're singing, and I was literally like, I remember I had to apologize and be like, guys, I'm in a funk today, and I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
And I kept trying to connect to the present moment, and no matter what I said, I was like, be grateful, Jahan. This is your dream. This is an amazing life you're living. I couldn't snap out of this funk I was in, and that was my state like 70% of the time.
Yeah. Okay. So I do
Do you
know
relate to that?
exactly what
Okay.
you're talking about. So do a lot of other people listening. There's just the desire for life and like the zest for life is gone.
Yeah.
And it really, that feeling brings for me a whole new meaning to the even just to the phrase like food is the spice of life, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like fuel. And when you are where you're supposed to be hormonally and nutritionally, you have all this mental and physical space to be present with your friends and do spontaneous things and
Yes.
spend the day out in the forest and be like, I'm okay to be out here for a few hours. I'm not going to panic and need to go home.
Yeah.
It happens for some reason. We just want to be back in our like comforting little room.
Yeah,
So,
especially when you feel like you're a downer.
oh
Like,
yeah, you're not very fun at all.
right?
No.
Yeah, so that was like right before lockdown. And at that time, I'm trying to remember, I think I still thought I had PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I was, like many of us, misdiagnosed. So in my mind, I kept thinking I had to do the opposite of what I really needed to do. So I still was restricting food intake. I was restricting my carbs. I was thinking that, like, oh, on these days off, I haven't done high impact or like high intensity workouts, and I should be doing that because I need to not only fix my PCOS, but also lean, lose weight, because that was what was important to me at that time. And so I think that was making it worse.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the problem as well, that a lot of the girls who went down the PCOS route first now have further ingrained this idea that eating less and working out more is even more important. So
Right.
it makes it even harder
Right.
to break the
Oh
habit.
my God, that's why, coming back full circle to your podcast, that's why these resources are so important, because when our own doctors, and by no means am I disrespecting our medical system, but as with any system, it's not a perfect system and has flaws and needs improvements. But when our own doctors are misdiagnosing us, who can we trust?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I think the internet has just been an incredible tool for me during this time to learn and have that reassurance of, anytime I get that inkling of doubt of the path I'm on, or that temptation to go back into, oh, I should wait another 3 hours before I eat because I
Mhm.
ate a feast last night. Even though I'm starving, I should wait, and then I should do a little workout before I eat.
You can identify that voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, relatable. So you said you went into COVID, you went into lockdown and started this discovery process. And you're in the middle of it right now, and you're thinking about life post when we all go back out, and you booked your first freaking show in what, like a year and a half or something. Yeah, what's going through your mind? Like, what's the battle?
I'm also thinking about dating too. Like, that's a big part of it also, because if I right now do not find myself worthy of love in my own body as I'm gaining weight and as my shape is changing, then that's, to me, I'm just like, I need to like really heal that mindset, because and also at the same time, if I don't feel that way about myself, if I don't approve of my own body, that is a reflection of how I feel about others. And when I think about my friends and my future relationships, I want to love them for who they are, and I want to attract people based on a deeper connection. And that to me ranks supreme over the superficial stuff, because that's not sustainable in a relationship, and I don't want that to be the foundation of my relationships. And so that's like my deepest goal right now, and that's what I try to remind myself of anytime I'm like squeezing my tummy rolls, and like being a freaking like pathetic lame-o and just saying like, oh my god, like my body is changing. Like, no, like this is another thing I was thinking about today, going along the first day of Ramadan. I'm like, God, whatever is up there, whatever, I don't know if it's whatever higher power is up there, is allowing, this is a gift that I'm gaining weight. It means that I'm finally entering my body in its natural form, as if I was like a tree growing and blossoming and a flower blossoming. And I'm allowing myself to receive the benefits of being a fortunate person who can afford to feed herself. And it's a shame to not feed myself when I have the opportunity to buy amazing food and to feed myself high quality food and to eat consistently. Like, I'm just being a big old baby thinking that I should be restricting myself from that. Like, it's a gift. So I'm really trying to actively work on that mindset.
Wow. That's a big part of what like our whole purpose here is like, this is, welcome to the show. Let's talk about getting your period back. That's all great. But it's so much more about getting all this life back and
Right.
zest for it, and realizing that, oh, it's not that I'm like grumpy and I don't want to be around anyone. I do want to be around these people.
Yes.
I'm just off at the moment a little bit. And it's really cool that you're seeing all of this. Would you say from like you're seeing it in hindsight and all from this brand new perspective that you didn't realize prior?
I think I'm definitely like talking out loud as I go, and I can intellectually understand this stuff, but I feel like I haven't fully embodied it yet. Did you go through that process too? Because what I feel from you is you are so unapologetically accepting of your body and your natural state and other people's too. And before you got to that place, did you feel like you had to really, really, really actively work on fusing you intellectually understanding these concepts of like, I love my body as it's evolving, um, and and then at a certain point in time, you just really just exuded that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've never even thought about it.
Because I want
Like
to get
that.
there. If you tell me
Yeah,
how.
I definitely had a very, very messed up starting point. I talk about a lot. I was one of the people who like kind of was in denial about it. First time I heard that the idea that you could lose too much weight was bad for you, I was just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I had a lot of hang-ups and beliefs around what people should look like. And in my own career, I actually work in a nutrition coaching company where they like help people get ripped abs for like
Yeah.
money. And I ended up like being the only one willing to raise my hand. It's like, this is happening to me. And it's happening to me like a bit of as a result of the service that we provide to other people. And I don't know how I feel about it anymore.
Mm.
When that was really hard, and a few people started putting their hand up too, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. Then this concept in my mind came up of like, I'm not unique, and everything I've thought or heard has someone else has too, which is really fun for me. I love getting on calls or whatever and saying things that other girls didn't realize they were not the only ones thinking.
Right.
So that process of like validating other people and their experiences, I don't know what it is, but it totally changed the game for me. So, now I'm at this nutrition coaching company and I'm the biggest one there, by far. And that going to like the first staff retreat event where you see everyone for the first time in a year was really hard for me.
Mm.
And the photos were really hard for me, and
Yeah.
seeing everyone else be lean and muscular and fussy about their food and stuff was all really hard for me. And from time to time, things still are and always will be. And even for you, most definitely, like people are going to say things that upset you and expect things from you that they don't realize is not something that you can provide anymore. And that will be hard. But for the most part, through the process of like speaking it out loud and just like living the experience every single day, it loses its power over you. You gain more power through finding your voice through it.
Right.
And you sort of like, I think when your hormones get back on track, you have a higher self-perception.
Right.
Something about like getting through this slug of it, and you just literally feel better and look in the mirror and you're like, okay, cool. And when your cycle is operating how it should, half the month you kind of feel like rubbish, and the other half of the month you feel amazing, and you start to realize there's this weird pattern that how can I feel like rubbish half the month and perfect the other half of the month? I think this is all in my head. I think this is all in my head. And yeah, just constant realizations and experiences and realizations and experiences. And I think that's what gets us where we need to go. But when to say
Yeah.
fully accepting of myself and of others, I think is not necessarily true. But being extremely aware of the voice in your head, where it's coming from, who it belongs to, why it's wrong, I think that's where it's at.
Right.
For me.
It must be really hard to be aware in a situation where you feel like you're the only one representing a different body type.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and to be the first one also, because like you said, you were the first one in, at your job who really raised their hand and said that, there are other body types, and this isn't what health this doesn't have to be what health looks like. It doesn't have to be the only way. And I'm here to show you that being healthy and functional and thriving can look like this too.
Mm-hmm.
And being that first one is fucking hard. I bet it is. But that's where like you're courageous in that way. That's where community starts, because if someone doesn't start it, if someone doesn't take that bold step, then
Exactly.
no one's going to do
Yes.
it.
All of the trailblazers that we praise in the world for different things, a lot of them did something unique that hasn't been done before in some way. And that's something to lean into. And it's very funny to me that a lot of us in this situation where we're all messed up because of our body is because we so much want to be special, and we want to be admired, and we want people to approve of us. And the path for doing that is to conform and follow the rules that everyone else is setting out for us, and to look a certain way that has been determined for us. So they kind of contradict each other.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
bury ourselves in this mission to be as approved of and accepted as possible, in the hopes that we'll be like loved and treated special. And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you brought up that paradox of that. You know, for people who want to be accepted and seen and validated and special, the process in which we have been doing that is by conforming.
100%. I have never been more seen and felt more special than I do now, speaking the truth.
You deserve it. Like, I just want to shower you with love when I hear your wisdom, because you definitely, from listening to your podcast, I feel your wisdom, and it's not, you can't bullshit that. The lessons that you learn from this journey of recovering and completely surrendering to what nature intended for you, to what form and shape your nature intended for you to have, and what needs nature designed you to have, and what limitations. And the more you can learn that and surrender to that, I feel like there's a lot of deep wisdom that comes from that, and that's, to me, far more important than attaining the body type.
100%.
I know a question on your mind is, how long will recovery take me? And I know that because I get that question a lot. And it's tough because the timeline can be really unknown. And look, I can't give you a magic answer that's 100% accurate, but what I can do is ask you a whole lot of questions to understand things like what your lifestyle is, where your mindset's at, what have you already tried, what are you willing to try and not willing to try, and a lot more questions like that to determine a general range that you could expect. So I created a quiz to help get that answer to you because I was asking these types of questions to girls all the time. So I thought I'd make a quiz, and it's called How Long Might It Take to Get My Period Back? The quiz. So once you go through it and you answer the questions, it will give you not just a time range, but a quick description of how you might be feeling to help you connect with that answer and see it, make sure it, yes, like this fits, this feels good for me. And don't worry, these ranges don't have to be set in stone at all. The goal is to allow you to look at the range that came based on your answers and decide, do I want to do this or do I want to speed this up? So once you get your range, you'll also get a few emails from me that week with some important tips that are specific to you to help you work through some of the roadblocks that could be slowing you down and in turn speed up your recovery time frame. So take the quiz now. Just head to quiz.thehasociety.com or find the link in the show notes and let's do this. That's quiz.thehasociety.com.
What do you want to be, like the first person putting your hand up to change, or similar?
I think I haven't really thought about it that much because I still feel like I'm in the very self-focused mode right now, where I'm just everyday journaling the affirmations, where I'm like, it's okay that I blah blah, it's okay that I felt bummed about stepping on the scale and it was a trigger yesterday and blah blah blah. It's very focused on me right now, so it feels very self-centered, but I do feel myself on the other side of this, really wanting community and realizing how important my presence and me embracing myself and accepting myself and me existing in the form that I am, that in itself, my presence in entertainment or in the dance music scene, whatever it is, or even just walking down the street in Los Angeles where most people here are like shredded if you're walking around the Silver Lake Reservoir. So even just me as just a human being serving as an example of another body type that does not fit the status quo right now of what we see in, I keep saying entertainment because that's, music, but that's the industry I'm in. But I hope I can, I mean, I will, I'm going to continue honoring this path and allowing myself to be in my natural state. And I really hope that does serve as an example that can motivate and inspire people to accept themselves as well and not fight against what their health needs are based on adhering to the certain code of what beautiful or successful is. And going back to community, I feel like a lot because my sister and I are half, and we also have one other sister, there are three of us girls, but we're half Pakistani. So I feel like a lot of, when I think about diversity, a lot of the emphasis has been on like gender diversity and also ethnic diversity. But I didn't put much weight on body diversity. I don't know why. I never really was, that's not something I was really fighting for. But now it's interesting how like when you live something and you're going through something, that's when you're like, oh my God, I see how important it is. Because I need this community online, the various niche communities that exist, the Instagram profiles I follow, like from looking up hashtags. I need that so badly to validate my experience and to validate my process of healing. But otherwise, I'd feel so alone. And I really, I guess before I kind of was superficially understanding it, like, oh, body diversity, oh, it's cool that they cast this person or this sort of person as a lead. In a very superficial way, I'd get it and appreciate it. But now I'm just like, I see it is not only just important, but it is absolutely vital because it has to do with our health. It absolutely has to, if we're destroying our reproductive systems because of this mindset to control our bodies and resist food and work out in a way that doesn't serve us, we are literally damaging our health and damaging our bodies. So in that way, to me, it's like completely rational too.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard that question? It's kind of like a conversation starter question, but it's a great one. It's like, in 20 years, what would you love to be considered ridiculous? Like that. And a common example is,
Yeah.
smoking in airplanes. People did that not that long ago.
Yeah, right.
And now it's absurd. It's completely absurd. And I feel like this should fall in that category. Like we should get to a point where we can tell maybe even just our children, like there was a time when we were marketed to literally be unhealthy if that's
I
what it took to look a certain way, and
It's gonna happen.
it's going
Yeah.
slowly turning in that direction, which is
Yeah.
very exciting. And that's why I'm pumped to be talking to you too, because the entertainment industry does have a huge part to play. It has a huge, 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 huge part to play in the greater world's progress here, because there are few industries where absolutely everyone consumes, but entertainment is one of those ones where entertainment, grocery stores, and probably some other things are industries that everyone consumes from.
Right.
And I think many of us got a lot of our ideals from what we saw in the media, in entertainment, all around us being put in front of us. So the position that entertainers are in is both very hard, I assume terrifying, and full of opportunity. Like
Right.
that excites me, and I'm wondering what have you seen much in the direction of change, or is this something that people in the industry need to like open up to creating community around and a message around?
I think both. I think we're seeing the change even when I think about, like, I was watching Demi Lovato's one of her episodes,
Yes,
her
Emmy.
documentary the other night, and I was like, this is the kind of stuff I need to consume right now. A reminder of someone who is incredibly enigmatic and admired and respected on a mass level, who is um, actively revealing her process of accepting herself and healing her relationship with food. And I would have never, just in the same way where I would have never imagined like Chinese and Korean actors and African American actors, holding the place of lead characters and love interests in shows 20 years ago. My 13-year-old self would have never imagined that we have massive superstars in the world who are changing the narrative and using their platform to and very bravely and courageously exposing their process with people also, because it's hard being open with people while you're in the middle of struggling to accept yourself and talking about
Yeah.
that too.
There's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to share until I'm through it.
I feel that. I had hesitancy before even talking to you. I was like, I'm still deep in this shit. Like yeah.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy talking to people, and I need to do more of it. Uh, Talking to people who haven't gotten there yet, because
Yeah.
when we only listen to people who like got through it to the other side, they totally skip over the real truth and the real struggle.
Me.
It's more exciting and it's easier to glorify it. Um, but when we have a conversation, and that's what, so I have this community, the AJ Society, and we
Yeah.
meet weekly and we talk about this stuff because everyone's literally in it in the middle of it.
Yes.
And they're allowed to talk about whatever they want, um, and be as real with it as they want and not have the answer, right? And other people are allowed to say, hey, I also don't have the answer to your question, but I'm going through this with you.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps. And you just sort of process it out loud. And it's also what I did. I sort of like took on recovery myself silently, and then got to a point where I was like, oh, there's no end date. So I'm gonna just start sharing now.
Yeah.
Like there is no end date. There's
You
only
still feel that way now. Like there's no, yeah.
no, there's
Yeah.
no end date. I am pregnant, but post post baby, like I gotta worry about this again,
Right.
when is my period gonna come back? Am I going to, because the amount of marketing, new marketing that's all brand new that I hadn't been exposed to before, I'm now being exposed to, is this idea of like having this perfect pregnancy body and
Oh my
getting,
God, you're
getting
right.
back to it. It's everywhere. So because the world's like a little battlefield and you have to just be like always ready.
I love that you bring that up and you're prepared for what you're going to be faced with post pregnancy, especially in a world that really is rewarding celebrities for having a banging body after pregnancy. And they're like, and you hear all these comments where like, oh my God, like, look, it looks like she didn't even get pregnant. Like, what did she do to
I worry about
get back in shape?
celebrities. I worry. I look at it and I'm like, oh,
Oh
I don't think this, I don't
man. Right.
think that the vast majority, I think there's going to be a few genetic, people who just like that was their reality. And
Hmm.
then there's those who busted their ass, because to be in the spotlight, to be in front of people, is highly motivating to get your body back.
Right.
Right. And I'm sure you can resonate with that concept too, right? It's like, it's significantly more motivating when people are watching.
Yeah, I think it was weird, even though when I think about the moments where I was at my lowest weight, like on tour for photo shoots, even though I was depleted of energy because little did I know my hormones were imbalanced, um, I weirdly felt good about myself because I was just like, oh my God, I'm so ready. I didn't eat my breakfast this morning. My stomach is slightly concave and like I can fit in all of the clothes here
For sure.
for a photo shoot. And I would reward myself. It was an unsustainable happiness that I felt in those moments, and on whether that was on stage or photo shoots, video shoots. And that's not a healthy, when I look back at that mindset now, I'm just like, that is not a healthy mindset to have. And seeing where that mindset led me, where I was constantly rewarding myself for having that type of body in those situations, is what led me to not having a period, along with other things, of course. But
And do you have a period now or not yet?
well, if she's on time, she'll be knocking at my door in like 10 days or yeah, something
Really?
like that. Yeah, I haven't had consistent regular ones yet, but I've had three. I got my first one on Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving.
Oh,
And
cool.
Danny, it was hilarious because Thanksgiving, you know, in the States, that's the day you just feast all day.
Mhm.
It was the most just like symbolic moment because I was just eating carbs all day while we were cooking. I was with my sister, so there was a shitload of ovary energy happening, like all of our ovaries hanging out. And I got my period that evening, and then I was just like, is this what it takes? Do I just need to eat a ton of carbs?
Yep.
And
My
yeah.
first one came when I was sitting at the beach, like at this cafe at the beach with my laptop, like writing. I enjoy writing,
Mm-hmm.
and eating a croissant, and you're just like,
Oh,
oh,
oh, I love
it's like,
that.
it is symbolic.
Was it emotional for you, or was it kind of just like, oh shit, you're back?
I was sick. I was immediately unwell.
Wait, when you got your period?
My
Your
first,
first?
yeah, I've never had it again since be so painful, but that first one was,
Oh wow.
yeah, that one, when I talk about it, it was like one random spontaneous one that happened because I had moved to America
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't legally allowed to work here because like it takes time to get a social security number and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
So they force you on this like 5-month break, where other people are responsible for you. And during that time, I got my period and I was very excited because I hadn't seen it for ages. But at that time, I actually didn't know what I know now and
Mm,
wasn't as connected to it. So
right.
and I lost it again, right? Like I never
Mm,
got another one. But after that, the real one was it's the best. It's the best feeling ever. It's kind
yeah.
of like when people get pregnant and they see this dick and they're like, "Oh
Oh.
my God!" Like it's that exciting.
Yeah, I feel that. Like when I get the past two times that I got mine, I screamed down
Yeah.
like because I wanted my cousin, who's my roommate, my other roommate to hear. I'm like, I got my period, and my neighbor's probably like, what the hell? Like this 30-year-old, 31-year-old woman. It's like
It's really exciting. It
it's
just
so exciting.
And that's why I have a mug that I give to every girl that gets their period because
Oh,
it says I got my period, let it be known. Because like that we're so
yeah.
excited about it that you just like sip your mug and it says it on there. Because you just
Oh.
want the world to know. That's a common experience. It's like you just can't wait to tell everyone
Right? I
all that
wanted to
you've been
like
through.
bleed through my pants at the grocery store. I was just like, I don't even fucking care anymore. I'm so yeah, I feel that.
It's like getting your big break. It feels real.
Yeah, it's validation that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And I think for as we know after months and sometimes years of people just throwing shit at a wall and trying to see what will get them back on track, you know, as we all know, it can be, you can feel very hopeless. But when you do get your period, you're like, oh my God, I intuitively knew all along. I arrived at this point because I helped myself.
Yeah.
That's success. That to me is like the highest form of success.
Because the perseverance through the pain is incredible, right? With most other goals, you're seeing some kind of signs
Yeah.
in the right direction. And although we can see some signs of progress when we're cycling, when we're trying to get our cycle back, it's not, we don't put a whole lot of stock into them in the way
Yeah.
we should. And we mostly just feel like nothing good is happening. This is stupid. This isn't for me. I probably don't even have this. It probably is PCOS. I just like think I might give up. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should exercise a little bit. Maybe I should diet a little bit more. Like maybe the stress of doing this is worse than the stress of not doing this. And it's a very vicious cycle that you'll just like
Yeah.
lie in bed and think and loop and loop and loop in your mind about what you should be doing. And then it comes. And you're like,
Do you,
hey.
are you an overthinker?
Me?
Would you
Yeah, probably.
consider,
Probably like
like, do
to a
you,
normal degree. I
almost,
I am a decision maker. I'm very good at making decisions.
okay.
But you know, when the decision is unclear, it's very stressful.
Right. Have you ever had sleep issues like insomnia?
I don't think anything out of the ordinary. Like
Yeah.
only when something really stressful is going on.
Hmm.
Otherwise, not really. My HA manifested as sleeping a lot, being very tired, and I was not tired and wired. I was just tired.
Hmm. I'm so interested in, and this is probably something you experience in the HA society, but the patterns in the people who have HA, that fascinates me when you can actually see descriptions of personality types based on studies that have been done, you know, like perfectionism,
Oh yeah.
insomnia, overachievers. I think that's like really, I think that's what also like really bonds me to other people that are have had HA or struggling with it, because I feel like, you know, there are people with very common types of personalities here. Like
There are
everyone listening, maybe there's some people who can relate to that, but
very high achievers, typically in the first world. Of course, people with HA in like the third world and stuff are not doing it for the don't have it for the same reasons we have it. They are typically white, and
mm,
we resonate with very similar experiences that happened to us growing up. Pretty similar. Like, in fact, hearing your story about the impact of Ramadan, like how, or or at least how you used Ramadan
yeah,
for your own purposes, was kind of like, that's kind of a unique one, because most of the time I'm talking to white girls.
it's mostly, yeah, I kind of noticed
You know,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have tried to reach out to people from other cultures of other color,
Hmm.
and they actually just like don't resonate, or say no, or I even had
Maybe, maybe it's because, like, when I think about this, maybe it's because the lack of resources too. Like, when I do think about people who have a lack of resources, most of the time, mostly in this country, it's people of color, and to do the research and have the access to information and to get all of that lab work, like, thank God for insurance, but it would have been thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of blood work over the years. Even when I think about the DEXA scan, all of that stuff to, you know, to check your bone density, that costs so much money. And that's what frustrates me so much, is because it's creating such a divide in who has access to heal, or not only heal, who has access to even be diagnosed. So I'm sure there's so many people who have it and they're not even aware they have it. And
I think that's a big part of
yeah,
it as well. Yeah, like we know that just racism alone gets in the way of people of color going to their doctor and being taken seriously,
Right.
with their diagnosis.
Absolutely.
And when you talk to all of us, right, us privileged people of white descent, we're even having trouble getting this diagnosis. So like we're even getting gaslighted by doctors about this kind of thing. Or not
Yeah.
necessarily gaslighted, but just they don't know. And
Questioned.
if
Yeah.
it's hard for us, it's definitely hard for people of other cultures.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And that's another thing that tells me, we're still at the beginning of this. We're still
Right.
at the very, very of this whole problem. And there's a long, long ass way to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does show that the I guess just the narrative around hypothalamic amenorrhea is in its infancy, that we haven't even talked about race yet. And I don't, the articles I read online, the vlogs, the studies that I've read, the books, they're very white centric. And that's okay. That's okay because it's changing, and I think we're living in a time where people are quickly learning, and they're holding people accountable, and they're open to constructive criticism, and they're open to expanding their messaging to be more inclusive. So
Yeah.
it's good that we're catching it now.
Yeah. So like everyone listening, I know that I'm white and that I'm struggling to get a more diverse audience, not audience, but content happening. Something I'm definitely working on as good as I possibly can. It's tough. Yeah. Thank you so much for having this whole conversation with me. I think the big takeaways for me are like, you as someone who is successful in music industry and the entertainment industry are also like working to change a narrative by focusing on yourself, right? And like what you need, and really like doing the inner work that you need to do so that if you need to impact people in the future, you can. And I think that's the thing that we all need to do, is be focusing on ourselves. And
Right.
like, what change can you make for yourself that can change the world?
Yeah, I think
That's
it
what I see
starts.
in you.
Thank you. I think it has felt very inward, and I'm excited, as I have more energy now to like be more social and to connect with more people. I am excited um to be a part of changing that narrative, because so much of this the behavior that's toxic and um I guess is detrimental to our health is also on the business end of things. When I think about um, menstruators, what girls or those who menstruate who are looking for managers and agents, we're still in an industry where there's a lot of pressure being put on people to tour a certain way and to have their schedules look a certain way and to commit to this many gigs and to put this much work on your plate, because that's what it takes to be an artist. That's what a successful artist looks like. And that was seriously damaging for me also, is that, not having any sort of energetic or spiritual or personal space in my life to heal and reflect and process things. So I think in all aspects of the music industry, on the business end of things too, I hope that things can change. And um, thankfully, my sister and I have an incredible manager, Fiona, who's Australian.
Oh, of course.
Yes, she's so wonderful, and she is a breath of fresh air. And I tell her all the time, like, I'm just like, thank you for being understanding that we don't want to commit to this week, or we don't want to do that show, or I can't be on the call this week, or I need to reschedule, or I need to push this back 30 minutes so I can get a lunch, so I can eat lunch for my. So, and she's so understanding of that, and she does that for herself too. And I think that the culture needs to change, and a lot of it starts with validating and people like when I think about Fiona and like telling her that we need more people like you, and how can we let people that want to get into the business end of things know that you can be a successful business person and operate like that in a very balanced and compassionate way as well.
Yeah, sounds like I need to talk to Fiona as well.
She is a boss woman, and yeah, all about self-care too.
Yeah, that's
And very business minded, very, very and goal oriented. So she's such a great balance. And I see you being this way too. You're very balanced in your yeah, I guess your ambition. Because what I feel like when I listen to your podcast, I'm like, this girl's ambitious as fuck and goal oriented to be pumping these out and to have everything systematized and organized and to be running a whole society and have an online presence and like writing and creating your art. You're very productive. You have to be productive to do that. But at the same time, to heal, you have to go inward and to have your downtime. And so you have a great balance of that. And I see our manager as being someone like that also.
yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, because I get all that done and I finish by like 5 or 6, and that's it.
Amazing.
And I think it's possible for all of us. I can see how in the entertainment industry it's like different.
It can be possible. You can write whatever, you can design this career to be the way you want it to.
Which is cool.
It depends on how high you want to go. If you're trying to be Taylor Swift and play stadiums, then maybe you got to work your fucking ass off nonstop. I don't know. But my sister and I have made it clear where we're like, we want our personal, private lives. We want to be able to go to the grocery store. We want to be able to do our own laundry. We want to be able to take days off. We want to be able to have slow mornings and work. So,
wow, yes, that is
yeah.
the thing, right? You can't have this. This is what we're going to finish on. You cannot have everything, right? You can't have the most amazing body in the whole world and the best relationship and the perfect family and all of these friends and be a good friend and have lots and lots of money and enjoy your slow, peaceful time. Like, very few people can have all of those things because it's unrealistic. And it's actually, to achieve all of that is a lot of pressure. Right. And it's actually what a lot of us are striving for, is to grind now and grind ourselves into the ground now so that on the other side it's all too easy and we just get that. But no, you have to stop now and you have to make that space for yourself now and say no to the grind so that you can say yes to yourself and to those quiet mornings and come to peace with the fact that, like, we're not all going to be Taylor Swift.
I want to say one more thing too, because I know we're about to wrap up. But going off that, I think a lot of the time we go throughout our lives not knowing what we want, and we make decisions, and we arrive in places where we have no period or can't get pregnant or whatever, or have some other health condition. I think identifying your goals and what you want your life to look like, and almost working backwards from there. If we're talking career wise, like if you're going into the music industry and you're like, I want to be the best of the best and I'm really competitive and I just want to be like pumping out content all the time, then good luck. I'm not the person to talk to. But if you're the type of person who's just like, I would like to have a very modest career and be financially sustainable and live, be financially independent and take care of my family, and I can drive a Prius. I drive a Prius, so I'm like, I don't need like a bougie car and a bougie house. And I don't need 5 homes, and I don't need to go on like bougie ass vacations every month. Whatever it is, like really imagine like the type of life you want for yourself, and a lot of the time, the work and what it takes to get there. Your lifestyle doesn't need to be as crazy as you think it is, if where you want to go is somewhere that feels very doable and achievable for you while maintaining your health. So
Thank you for wrapping it up on a very important note. I appreciate that so much. Wise
Thank
words.
you.
Thank you. Where can people go and find you?
Well, the group page for the music and the music updates is Krewella on Instagram. So it's at Krewella. Twitter, it's Krewella, the same thing. And my personal is Krewella Jahan. So it's KrewellaJahan.
Amazing.
So that's where you can find me
find
personally. And then Spotify, Krewella. Yeah.
Fancy blue tick. She's very fancy.
Oh God, that's a conversation for another time. Blue check mark. Blue check mark doesn't mean shit. I think people respect that way too much.
Well, I made fun of you for it.
I'm not trying to demote myself or get rid of my status of having a blue check mark. Let's say it probably got your attention when I slid in your DMs.
If someone gave me a blue check mark, I would be like, I would take it. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you have it, you go to the top of people's inbox.
I know that, honestly, that's why I just say I'm really grateful for it, because when I reach out, when I'm like nerding out and I'm like, I listen to your podcast, I'm a fan. When I reach out to like dietitians and nutritionists or just like biologists, whoever I'm reaching out to, because I'm like, you're helping me on my health journey.
It's just like a skip the line pass it.
Oh my gosh. It is a privilege. It is.
Good
it really is. I take back anything I said.
Amazing.
Shaming the blue check mark. Thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you. I cannot wait for everyone to hear this. I hope you have an amazing day. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
We cut out.
Yeah, but it still worked. It got me.
Awesome. Danny, where are you?
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much, because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women.
There used to be one kind of calculator, one that added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. Now, on the Home Depot app, we have project calculators for everything. Tile calculators, countertop calculators, moving calculators, mulch calculators, air conditioning calculators, wallpaper calculators, grass seed calculators, installation calculators, decking calculators, paint calculators, drywall calculators, and fencing calculators to take the guesswork out of your home improvement projects. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.